Well, alright. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Episode number 25. On this, the 19th day of January, I am your host, Adam K, aka Bay, and tonight we have Elemental Shamans. As chat room is already writing about it, we do have Leeds from Method and Tickle from Pure, the new manager of Totems, which we'll get to later, of course. But first, before all that nonsense, if you were here for the bit of pre-show right now, you know what's in the cup, but if you're not, then you have no idea. Anna Fail, hi Anna.
Hey Bay, what's going on?
I hope it's going to be a good show. But...
I hope so too, you're very excited today.
Well, it's a Shaman episode. You were excited last week for Paladins, and now it's Shaman stuff.
I am pretty excited. And I would like to say before we start that we're going to have to figure out whether it's Shamans or Shaman. Because I've always thought that the plural of Shaman is Shaman.
Or Shaman? Or Shaman?
No, Shaman.
No Shaman? Aw,
no Shaman.
But Olivia, Shaman? No? Dang it. Well, alrighty then. As well with us, like I said, over the pond, Mr. Leeds himself. Hi, Leeds.
Hello, everyone, and good evening to the European friends.
Yeah, how late is it for you right now?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock? You'll be fine. You don't go to sleep until like 4 in the morning anyway.
Nah, like all the other nerds.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then, like I said, the new manager of Tonespot, Tickle. Hi, Tickle.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, ready for this? Are you sure?
Yes,
right.
I'm ready.
Positive? Okay, good.
Maybe.
I mean, you guys didn't have like a huge allergic reaction to the show notes like Coltrane did, so I think we'll be fine.
Some people appreciate organization, just saying.
Oh yeah, exactly. No, it's totally okay. But
well, I'd like to hear a little bit more from our guests. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do. Let's go with Leeds first. Where can we find you on the internet? Follow more about Leeds and hear more about Leeds.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, I'm playing the Elemental Shaman Leedsiboy in Method, and you can find me on Twitter at Leedsiboy and on Twitch TV/Leeds. And yeah, I guess.
Do you stream Method's raids?
I used to, but lately I've been quite lazy on the streaming, so most likely in the near future, but can't promise anything.
I see. Okay. And Tickle, where can we find more about you and what you do on the internet?
You can find me on my Twitch, Twitch TV/TickleTotem, or on Twitter at TickleTotem. I'm also on Totem Spot, so if you have questions, I'm available there all the time.
You also have we'll get to your Twitter account stuff later, but you also have another one you made called just Ask Tickle. Is that just for
nobody asks me anything though, so.
Well, hey, we'll change that. We'll totally change that. Is that just for like...
Okay, we can fix that problem.
Is that just for elemental shamans, like randomly to be like...
No, actually, I made it more as you can ask whatever WoW-related questions you want, and I'll give you either serious answers if I know them, or if I don't know, I will make something up.
So, can we just put off all of Nobble's questions onto you, too? Can you take that
sure.
mantle from him?
It'll be completely random answers if I don't know the answer.
He's a busy man. He would love some help with this. I'm sure he would appreciate that. So, okay. So, from here on out, you can send all of your questions about World of Warcraft to Ask Tickle, at Ask Tickle on and Nobble, you're good. You're done. You can retire a rich man, and you can live out the rest of your life drinking margaritas and mojitos on the beach, like Anna wants to.
Oh, no, there's no want to about it, like Anna plans to. Please, let's rephrase.
Oh, okay, sorry.
As long as it's somewhere with good internet that I can play WoW from, I feel like I'll be done.
Oh, wow. WoW on the beach, like wireless on a laptop with the... Oh, man.
That was my plan when I was in Honduras the other day. I was really bummed out that I couldn't do the show from there. So we'll make up for it at some point.
We'll do that. That's totally fine. I love how we all tried to. We actually tried to get you on, but we tried
really hard, and I appreciate everybody who hung out on the show while we were waiting and having technical difficulties that day.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving right along. I'd love to hear a little bit about our guest's history in WoW, kind of when you started playing your Elemental Shaman and how long you've been raiding on it. To start with,
Leeds, you go first.
Isn't it ladies first usually?
Well,
I think it's ladies first.
You didn't get the... Damn it.
I have to be a gentleman. I have to be a gentleman tonight.
Well, okay,
that's very polite.
That's fine then. So Tickle, how about you?
Okay, I started playing in BC. I actually began on a paladin. I think I got to like level 15, found out hunters got pets, so I switched to a hunter for a little while. And then somewhere along the line, and I don't remember why, maybe it was because of Totems, I was like, I'm going to play a Shaman. And that became my main for a long time. I didn't actually start raiding, though, until right at the very end of Firelands. So I'm a fairly new raider. And I've just kind of been going since then.
Oh, that makes me feel so much better because I'm a Wrath baby, and so I mean I've been playing WoW since vanilla, but I didn't start raiding until Wrath. And recently, one of my guildmates said, "You know, it's been a couple expansions. Wrath babies are all grown up, but I still feel sometimes like I haven't been raiding for a very long time. So to hear someone else who's raiding at the top level who started fairly recently makes me feel better."
Good.
But Leeds, so when did you start playing your Ellie?
Well, my Elemental Shaman I started playing in the first year of Cataclysm when I was raiding in For the Horde, the German guild that sadly doesn't exist anymore. I used to play Enhancement in the start of the tier, and then our Restoration Shaman left, so I played a bit of Restoration and then swapped over to Ele as the gear's quite similar and stick to that ever since. And I'm raiding in Method now for whole MOP, and some say it's a secret behind getting world first.
Oh yeah, some
But
say.
I'm not gonna comment on that, but it might be.
You're
But
too
yeah,
modest to comment on it at length.
Exactly.
So
I'm a humble person.
you're the reason why. It's not Trekkie's bubble timing that we talked about last week. No.
It might be a case as well, but
So what did you play before Enhancement then? Since you said you were playing Enhancement in For the Horde.
well, yeah, I played like when I started World of Warcraft was in the end of Wrath of the Lich King, and I played a priest back then, but that was on the account of a friend, and that I don't know, I didn't have it at some point anymore, and then my guild needed a shaman, so I started playing Enhancement and swapped then to For the Horde. Really sure it was a big leap back then from like World 5000 to World 5.
Yeah,
But
just a little bit of a leap.
I made it, and it was a good decision.
So I'm going to come out right here and say that I don't know why you are staying Elemental, because Enhancement is by far the superior spec, but...
Disagree.
Also disagree.
disagree.
Shit. Yeah, Sure.
I'm still working on my Sith Lord transmog for my Elemental Shaman. I'm trying to get like the lightsaber and like the robes look.
Oh, yeah? Yeah?
No, that Elemental is definitely the spec to be.
Fair enough. I don't know. I could never play it. I think the only time I ever played Elemental was like season 10 or 11, like PvP, and I got to like 2200 in the arena because we just played Shadow Cleave, which was a Holy Paladin, a Shadow Priest, a Rogue, a Warlock, and a Elemental Shaman. You pop arrows and blow someone up and win the game, and that's like my extent of Elemental. That's it. For me, I have nothing else behind it. I don't know. I don't feel... You guys just love it too much. I'll let you guys carry the mantle. It's okay. So...
Last year.
Yeah, is it no? So Elemental used to be like just a 2-button like DPS class when you first started. You just kind of kept up Flame Shock and then just spammed Lightning Bolt, or like maybe I guess you have the Chain Lightning off cooldown and then Lightning Bolt kind of deal for like min-maxing or whatever. So how has that really changed from back in the day till now? Like how full is that Elemental rotation now, Tickle? How does it feel for you guys?
Well, I wasn't really playing enough back in the day to really notice the rotation. I think it's in a pretty good place right now. There's still definitely some buttons that we use a lot more than others. Some abilities that I don't even know why Shaman even have anymore, but we'll see where that goes. Like Primal Strike, who uses that? I don't know.
Hey, that's for leveling.
But I think it's in a pretty good place right now. There are some changes that I would like to see, especially with like shot cooldowns. But otherwise, I'm happy with it.
Yeah? How about you, Leeds? What do you think about the element rotation?
Well, it always sounds people say it's way easier or way straight than it is actually, because comparing it to a Destro Lock, it's basically the same sort of spells you need for single target, like the same amount of spells, so it's not actually that straight, but I do enjoy it, and I have to say that I enjoy nothing more than the Elemental Shaman. And,
That's a bold way to put it, too. And so because we were making the notes, I was talking to some other Elemental Shamans, and then, of course, Tickle helped me put these together. So, do you guys feel that it is incredibly spammy? It's been coined that way, that you're almost GCD locked forever? Or is that just kind of like every caster class?
For me, it's more or less like every caster class. It doesn't really matter to me if I press like 1-1-1 or if I press 1-2-1. It's basically the same outcome for me, so I wouldn't call it like that.
Okay. So you knew about you, Tickle. You don't feel that it's like you're just locked into a total button mashing spec? It still feels all right?
I think the only time that it's really button mashing spammy is AoE when you're cleaving with chain lightning all the time. That's it. Otherwise, I don't think it's that spammy. I think it's okay. It's just like every other caster, I think.
Yeah, I just don't know because Anna and we don't. Have you ever played a caster, Anna? Because I don't know. I haven't
Yeah,
really.
my Ellie is my favorite alt.
So, okay, well,
that is. I used to raid. I used to do alt raids on my elemental shaman. But I don't have. Well, I guess I have a shadow priest too. But it's not like I've played every single caster. But all of my alts besides my red are casters. So.
Yeah, I just haven't. I haven't played. I've an enhancement for so long now that I don't know what it would feel like to play like a caster right now. Because I have like leeway and a priority list to go with, but as a caster, you gotta a spell missed or a proc missed or waited on is just like lost damage, whereas we kind of make up with that with melee auto attacks. So
I mean, it's a very different feeling. I prefer it in some ways, but I'm not sure if you can really compare it to a melee class in terms of being GCD locked.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a filler, but these guys pretty much covered it. In terms of what it feels like. What I'd be curious to know, I know that there is a lot of talk about how the elemental rotation is simple, and I guess you said that you don't feel like it's very simple in comparison to the other caster classes. Do you feel that way, Tickle? I know Leeds commented on it a little bit.
Well, I think it's simpler than, for example, a demo warlock. I've tried that before, and I can't get my head around that. But I wouldn't say it's too simple. I mean, definitely like an arcane mage is even more simple. But I don't know. I don't think it's that simple. It's simple enough, and it's easy to get it down. But there's still things you have to keep track of that kind of complicate it a little bit. So.
Well, yeah.
I would say that it's a very reactive single target playstyle because you have to react all the time to your lava burst procs, and this is more or less the only thing. You can handle around a bit with the flame shock and the fulmination of earth shock, but more or less it's you have to react quick, and that's why you shine on single target DPS as elemental. While on, for example, destruction warlock, you don't have to have this quick reaction. I mean, obviously you get a trinket proc, and then you have to shoot out your chaos balls, but it's more of a straightforward, relaxed playstyle and not reacting to spells proccing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to describe it, I think, as a reactive playstyle. I like rotations that are very procky or that require kind of watching different things, and that's what it feels like to me. So.
Yeah, and that leads us into the next topic really well, is that you have a lot of that in the elemental rotation, right? So there's a lot of interplay between multiple factors you guys have. You have your mastery procs, which just it's just that just happens automatically. Kind of same thing with Echo of the Elements, right? It just like duplicates the spell you just cast. But then you have to watch your Lava Surge procs, which you can Lava Burst again. You can watch your Fulmination, which stacks to 7 now. I had to be corrected on that. So then what do you two do to deal with all of this? Just instantly go with the priority of what's higher up? Do you guys use weak auras, or tell me whens, or how do you guys handle the RNG elements of your rotation, Tickle?
Well, I definitely use weak auras for watching procs like Fulmination, Lava Surge, things like that, so that I can catch them more easily without staring at my bars. But I mean, a lot of it, you just kind of deal with it, and you stick with your priority system for the most part, with few exceptions, and kind of go with the flow there. So.
Okay, and then which is the more important one to deal with, Lava Surge or Fulmination? I would assume
Lava Surge.
Lava Surge.
Lava Surge.
Okay. So that's the highest priority. What about you, Leeds? Anything on that? On the RNG
Well,
elements?
I have to agree with the lady on that one. And I don't use weak auras to track my lava burst, because weak auras is when the spell procs mid GCD, it doesn't update straight up. You know, when you track, for example, spell ready, it doesn't update straight up. So I have an add-on called Button Forge, which shows me an extra icon in the middle of my screen. I guess people that use the add-ons that have the spell frames changed up, they can drag a spell frame in the middle of their screen, but I have the standard one, so I have to have this extra add-on. But yeah, this is basically it as well. Just make sure you get your Lava Surge proc out ASAP.
All right.
I see. And what did you say that add-on was called?
Button Forge. It just lets you, Button Forge. It just lets you create random, buttons wherever you want it in the screen. Yeah.
Huh. So it'll only pop up when you have the proc, so it's just an easier way for it to know. And since it lights up based on the proc, it's just a lot faster. It's more responsive? Is that why? Well,
it looks like it's a normal keybind, with a standard UI, but just no other add-on tracks it straight up. So you have to have this.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Interesting. We can put that in chat so people know. Yeah. Awesome. Very nice. So then I guess to go into the other casters in the game, we talked about how like Tickle, I guess, can't play Destruction Warlock, but apparently Leeds like the best Warlock in Method now. How does Elemental keep up with the other caster classes? How do you guys handle or stack up in the rankings right now against Warlocks, Mages, and Shadow Priests? What do you think, Leeds?
Well, I stacked very far behind as I was spent, and I was so undergeared all the time. But
Okay.
I can, for example, speak about Progress, and in Progress I have to say it was very fine. Even though Elemental performs weaker than other classes, you have the advantage of gear. When Cloth loot drops, you have 5 Warlocks, 3 Mages needing it. If Male loot drops, you just get it in your bags. That makes you like catch up a bit on Progress, and I have to say in the end of the day, even though Elemental was quite weak throughout all MOP, I always did fine on Progress damage, I guess. But nowadays it falls really far behind on farming, except to Shadow Priest, which are really, really weak. So you can keep up with Shadow Priest, but everything else just beats you.
Okay. So is that just a... Because we talked about... I put it in the notes here that like you keep getting Band-Aid fixed like over and over again during MOP. Is that just to keep you up to date with other classes? Or is that like a really big that you have to continuously scale through Blizzard's help? Is that like a problem, Tickle, or?
I do think it is a problem. The most recent buff, it's something like you said, a Band-Aid, because we do tend to fall behind a little bit just because of kind of our design. Our scaling is a little bit weird, and that's something that I'm really excited to see in Warlords, to see if that changes at all. But like he said, in progression, I was keeping up just fine on single target, but as the gear increases, that gap increases as well.
Yeah.
Although on some things like Garrosh, for example, I'm still doing just as much boss damage as anybody else, and you look at our meters, and the Warlocks are actually doing less boss damage because they're doing so much of the AoE. So
they're doing what at least what range do what Sloot talked about last week. Just a little bit of whoring going on there sometimes.
A little bit.
A little bit. I think that's what, Lead, you talked to me about, too, when we had our little meet and greet, that you don't really have a multi-target, single-target increase. Like, a lot of Warlocks and, like, Shadow Priests can dot to gain more single-target damage. I can do that now, personally. Is that a problem you guys have, too? Is that you just have to focus on, like, one target? You don't really gain anything else from... You don't have any multi-dotting, really, do you?
Me or...
Yeah,
well, I guess
you.
I'm gonna
Go for it, yeah.
Well, I guess this is more or less the whole problem about Elemental Shaman, that you don't have too much tools to deal with certain encounter situations.
Yeah.
For example, like, I can compare it easily to a Destrolog again. If a second target comes up, you have Havoc, cleave up a spell. You have multi-dotting your Immolate without cooldown. You have your Rain of Fire, which is worth using on 2 targets, so you gain a lot more on 1 target by just having a second nearby, and you don't have too much gain on the Elemental Shaman. Of course, you can spread your Flame Shock, but that doesn't increase your DPS by a noticeable amount. So that is really a problem about the Elemental Shamans in general. Just the weak scaling, plus you don't have any tools to deal with certain encounter situations. And this is what makes Elemental so weak, in my opinion, in general.
Now, what about movement? Because I know that's always one of those high energy topics that people are always talking about. How much you can cast while moving and how much you lose while moving. And I know Elemental Shaman have traditionally lost less than other casters while moving and can maintain most of their rotation on the move. How do you feel about this aspect of your class and how it contributes to y'all's balance?
I have to say I feel really good, and this is also something that makes the Elemental for progression really, really viable, because see, the Garrosh fight, you have to have people outside dropping the weapon, and you can have hunters for it. And Elemental Shaman is also really, really good, because if you put there, let's say, a mage, he loses way more, and then putting the mage outside is doing the same damage as an Elemental Shaman, even though he performs better by standing inside. And this is also what helps me a lot in a lot of progression fights, because there's always this something where you have to move this position that you have to cover on Lei Shen, which is far outside, and you have to move a lot, and you can always put an Elemental Shaman on that, and it does just fine. That's really good. Really helps you compensating.
Okay.
Do you find it fun? I mean, do you find that it's really annoying not to move as much when you play another caster?
Yeah, I have to say that. For example, I played a Moonkin 1 year ago, I guess, but always in Dragon Soul. well, it's even 2 years ago, always in Dragon Soul, when you get this cleave on War Master Blackhorn in your direction, you're like in the middle of a Star Search, have to move.
Yeah.
It's really so annoying. And I have to say, I really enjoy that because, okay, even though the Moonkin maybe in the end does same or more damage, it's still annoying every time you have to move mid-cast. And as a Mental Shaman, I just don't care. So it's really nice.
Yep, fair enough. I mean, even they did change that this Lightning Bolt baseline for all Shaman is castable, but then I never use Spirit Walker's Grace ever, but for you guys, you can just hit that, and for 15 seconds right now it is. You don't even care about it, and no other class has that. So I mean, I cast Lightning Bolt on the move now and then as enhancement, but like it's nowhere near the same as you guys. So
Well, and I'm not sure if you could say that no other class has that. I mean, and that's another thing that I'd like to hear, I guess, opinions on, because I don't play caster, so you guys should correct me if I'm wrong, because my main is a melee. But my understanding is that traditional plus of playing an Ele Shaman has been kind of eroded over the last couple of tiers as other classes have gained more movement tools. I know that our hunters say they can pretty much maintain their entire rotation on the move no matter what. And I know hunters are not really a caster, but they are a ranged class, so they get balanced against you guys. So I was kind of wondering to get some of y'all's thoughts on that. And Tickle, I guess we'll throw this one at you. So.
Yeah, I think it has become kind of less of a LE distinction recently, especially when was it earlier in MoP when Warlocks had that talent where they could actually move and weren't really penalized by it. I know that's changed. But I remember going, oh my gosh, they're not going to ever bring me in now. Warlocks can move while casting, so it's definitely something that is not quite as unique to us as it used to be. But I still think it's an advantage. As Leeds said, being able to move out for Desecration is still something that we bring that other classes don't bring quite as well. So,
yeah.
Also, what you have to consider in that regard is that a lot of other classes can maintain some of their damage even though they don't cast at all, because they are like have dots, and Elemental Shaman, you don't really have anything, and therefore you have to have your Lightning Bolt spam, which is more or less your dot damage. It doesn't do much. It's just, in my opinion, that the Lava Burst all the time procs and is then instant, which makes Elemental being mobile, not necessarily the Lightning Bolt, because you could have a Destruction Warlock or like Warlock in general that can cast Incinerate while moving. You have the Hunter that can cast everything, and so, I don't know. But it's just that Lightning Bolt while moving in combination with the Lava Burst procs, it makes it really, really mobile.
Yeah.
I see.
So I'm going to backtrack us a little bit here. I totally skipped over this. Our first question that came in was pertaining to this, so we can just quell and answer this concretely. It came in from Iron Tagger on EU Emerald Dream, and he asks, Elemental has some pretty awkward scaling, so how would you guys solve that without enhancement being OP or Elemental unbalanced in PvP? Tickle, what do you think?
Well, I think the recent buff we saw was like kind of the best they can really do right now, unless we actually see some mechanics changes.
Yeah.
With the things like Elemental Focus that are unique to us that don't affect the other two specs, that's basically the only way they can really do that right now. I mean, I guess you could add in there something like it also buffs, I don't know, Searing Totem or something, but that's not really ideal. So unless we actually see some real changes, I think it's kind of hard to do that without buffing enhancement or making us totally OP in PvP. So,
Do you think that 6.0 with the item squish and stuff, and when math gets a little more under control, they might see a lot better balance in that regard for you guys? Or Anna just this is the shaking the head thing. I know she hates it.
I'm sorry. I just know that phrasing, like the math
know.
gets more under control. Like how does an item squish affect like how multiplication and division work? Explain that one to me at some point, Bay.
Hey, well, when you're doing like 400,000 damage, 2% is different from when you're doing like 40. You can't do 2% anymore. It's not going to be like, there's a lot of little factors that add up right now.
Percentages don't change when the numbers get smaller. Just FYI.
Well, they keep getting buffed by small percentages to keep them up to date right now. That's like their issue they're having. So, I wonder what they're going to do.
From the question. The guests should actually answer that if they think the item squish is going to make a difference.
Yeah. Leeds, what do you think?
I totally spaced out about you guys discussion. What was the question?
Oh yeah.
I could.
I don't know. Do you
Perfect.
think the item squish is gonna help at all? Because you guys have
Well,
some stat problems at this
I
point.
wouldn't necessarily say that the item squish helps a lot, but I would say that the new expansion can help a lot because
Okay.
the Blizzard designers are not manning up in that sense on changes a lot during an expansion, but they can do it with the new expansion, especially now with all the numbers changing. So
Yeah.
I hope they're gonna put a new scaling on a lot of spells. They're gonna bring new spells to the Elemental Shaman, and I hope all that brings Elemental Shaman to a better spot in the end. But
New
yeah.
spells, so you want more spells.
I want, didn't I hear I only have Chain Lightning and
Well,
maybe
of course.
Lightning Bolt?
That's all you have.
And the bloodlust button. Don't ignore the bloodlust button.
That's a
Oh.
good. That's a button. Yeah.
Well, I would like more spells, yeah.
Ankh. Ankh
I
is a
don't like
spell.
being called Chain Lightning.
Ankh is a spell. Wow.
And I'm using this on cooldown, really effective.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, but I think they have not necessarily the items which gives them a new chance to balance stuff, but a new expansion and yeah. I
Okay.
always have high hopes with a new expansion and always got dragged down when I saw it then.
Oh.
But, yeah.
Oh.
Well-
Maybe this one won't disappoint you.
Well, I'm sure
Yeah.
you're going to be, when beta comes out, you're going to be all over that and giving them great information, feedback, and tickets and stuff like that, right? Right?
Well, in case Method for once gets beta invites on all of their players, I will.
Oh.
Listening, hello.
Yeah, we can hope.
Hello?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Well, I would do, and I think that a lot of Method players would do and give great feedback. So I really hope we get beta access quite early.
Okay. I heard, what was it? I mean, the pre-sale is going on soonish. Not to go, like, newsy. We don't really do a lot of that. But I heard, the blue post is up that the pre-sale is soon. So, like, if we get a pre-sale in, like, February, do you feel that we're going to go beta, like, a month after that? We got to start soon, right? It's
I don't
I
know.
just want the pre-sale so I can have my free 90.
You're free 9. And you're mounting
know.
your... Is that
No, I
why
just
you
want
want
the free
it?
90.
That's why you want it? Fair enough. All right, well, I'm going to move us along here. So we usually talk about utility that all these classes bring right now because we're getting baselined and stuff. And Elemental does bring some proprietary stuff, like that they only bring. The only thing you really have that I unless I'm totally off my rocker here, is that you guys have the 5% Spell Haste aura, which is shared with Hunter Pet, Shadow Priest, and Moonkins. So with everything else you guys have, the Mastery aura, Spell aura, is Shaman overall. So you guys bring the Spell Haste aura, which I don't know if you have much to... Do you feel like you lost? Because it used to be the crit. And it used to be very much only you guys and Boomkins, as far as I remember. What do you think of the whole aura system we've have here now, that like we're just walking totems now, Tickle, instead of having like an actual like buff or something that does anything special? Is it okay with you? Do you think that's all right?
I think it's fine. It got rid of our buff sticks to make them more situational now. So I think it's okay that we have these auras. I mean, even with Mastery, Paladins still bring that. So I don't think they're really unique to us, but I'm okay with that instead of the totems being the buffs.
Yeah.
So
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Because I mean, Shaman in general, like I bring Mastery and Spell Power, and so does the Resto, but like you guys also add on the Haste aura. The only things I could find that you guys really only have that's yours, we'll start with Thunderstorm first, and then we'll go with the bad one.
Oh
So-
yeah, Thunderstorm's such an exciting spell.
Yeah.
Oh,
what do
yes. I use it all the time. Oh my gosh.
I guess that's a... Leeds, what do you think of Thunderstorm?
It's an awesome spell. It's really great.
Oh, see, he likes
Well,
it.
it's nice in challenge mode. You can adjust the mob's position here and there, but in raids it's more or less useless, except like Siegecrafter, where you see a mine on a friendly player, and you can just
Hey,
knock
if
it
I
back.
forget to put my lightning shield on, it gives me back.
Oh
my-
yeah, I have
my
that all the
Thunderstorm.
time. And also that Shamanistic Rage makes your spells like cost no mana. Your damaging spells is also so great. If I forget putting the shield on, that happens to me
Oh, you know
actually
what
a
it
lot.
is? I think you guys are the experts. Is Chain Lightning not mana positive if it only hits like 2 targets, something along
it's
those
not.
lines? It's not
It's
mana,
not.
but
Yeah,
it's mana positive once it hits 3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it should be.
that's the mistake.
If it's
that
not glyphed.
Yeah.
If you have it glyphed and you're only on 3, it's still going to be mana negative.
Okay. I see. All right. Yeah, that's why I'm always out of mana. And I'm like, where's my Thunderstorm button? And then I knock all the mobs back and I get yelled at.
Whoops.
Aw.
Yeah.
Oops.
Oh. Yeah, I guess it's nice to reposition. Like, I would suppose you guys use it on Garrosh. I'm not sure what y'all's Garrosh strats are. I know our strat, we knock adds into the Iron Star on in the very beginning on phase 1.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Thunderstorm gets used for that. It's like the only time I've seen it used in a raid in the last 3 tiers.
That's the same. That was the same thing.
Well, Method just kills the ads and doesn't knock anything.
Yeah,
okay.
you guys are weird.
The Warlocks,
don't even
the
use
Warlocks wouldn't approve of that tactic.
Oh.
And, so we're just killing it, but yeah.
Yeah, we mostly cleave them down, and we actually have a DK gripping them to a monk statue, so we don't knock them back.
No? Yeah, I knock them back, Anna. We knock them back.
Okay.
Yep, that's okay. I mean, sometimes we get, like, because the thunderstorm would be, like, too close, and it's a circular one. So we get, like, ads that, like, go off on, like, the side radii and just walk back in, still enraged. Like, okay, that didn't really do anything. So you gotta always back up a little bit and throw them forward, since it is a circle. But, so really, in raids, Garrosh and Siegecrafter, have you used it ever else in MoP other than, like, PvP and knocking people off ledges? Is there anything else you use it for? It gives you a little bit of mana back, right? But, like...
Well, I use it, yeah, Siegecrafter. I've also used it to interrupt Fracture on Galacrus, 'cause that's a good one. Not everybody wants to stun them, so they make us run back there and interrupt that. Let's see, on Ele Shaman, it's some good snap AoE when the balls come up real quick. If it's not glyphed, I'm sorry, if it is glyphed, so you don't want him knocking them back. Yeah, if it is glyphed, you don't want him knocking them back. So it's the Warlocks kill them so fast, so that's basically all I can do. I can't get a Chain Lightning cast out, so just snap AoE with Thunderstorm.
Does it actually do pretty good damage then? Is it not?
With enough targets, it'll do okay.
Okay.
Enough targets is a pretty high threshold. Though,
It is. It is a pretty high threshold.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's probably 8+, like we have to with Magma Totem as well. Like, you need a lot. Yeah. Fair enough. Anything else on Thunderstorm Leeds before I bring out the bad one?
Nah, not really much to say about Thunderstorm, to be honest.
I mean, do you wish that it was a more exciting spell? I know my raid leader is an Ellie, and he's listed that off as one of the things that it's a really iconic spell, and he wishes that it did more. Or do you think that it's really satisfying at this point?
No, I don't think it's really satisfying. I wish it was just like what's the warrior spell called that like smashes down and does so much damage. That always crits. I wish it was just more like that, but yeah, I don't know. It's just there's some relief from the old days, but I really think they should think about reworking those kind of spells and make them more exciting and actually useful in the raids as a DPS gain, or because the utility. I mean, it's just not a good utility spell because the knockback also works off you. So unless you're positioned perfectly to the ads and they're standing on top of each other, you knock them in different directions, and you don't ever want that. Yeah. So you rather use a Moonkin or like a Druid knockback.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, I mean, chat brings up, Svedkin says, you can use Thunderstorm on Nazgrim to knock the Shaman, other stuff away from Healing Tide Totems if you need to, if you don't have it stunned. So there's little uses for it. But yeah, I guess, because it almost is like a not as good version of Typhoon, because Druid Typhoon is a lot better positional. It's a straight ahead, like, giant 90-degree wall that just pushes in front of you. Yeah, I don't know. It's still cool, I guess, like, looking.
It is an iconic spell, I think, though. Isn't it one of the ones that you get when you spec Ellie?
Or don't know.
Let me see in-game.
Maybe.
Yeah?
Maybe. Not in a while.
I think if I
you only have it as Elemental Shaman, but you don't get it by specking Elemental.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. So then, all right, let's bring up the pink elephant in the room, Earthquake. So it's a ground drop AoE with a knockdown. I'll put that in air quotes because, when does it ever knock anything down ever? So do you guys ever use it, Leeds? When have you used Earthquake, this expansion?
Well, okay, you can use it mostly only as a precast. So for example, when the third boss, what's it called? Oh my god. Norushan gets active, you cast it at like 3 seconds, you pre-pot Fire Ele, something like that. You can do it. You can pre-cast it on the Galacross wave, that kind of stuff. But actively using it in a fight on ads, it's really not worth it ever, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, you could, for example, use it on the mines, like before let's see on Siegecrafter, when we like kill the first big ones. It takes some seconds till the other ones spawn, like half a second. I always do a Earthquake there. Because they're at split up so much, but beside that, it's not really worth shooting in any fight, to be honest.
So even if you project Magma Totem and get an Earthquake down and then AoE, do you still lose more damage than just AoEing from the get-go? Is it just not that potent? I've never used it before, but...
I guess it would be worth using on like, it's hard to say, on like 12 targets when they're standing in their full 10 seconds.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
But that's around. I'm just guessing. I don't have
Sure,
a math
sure.
behind that, but that's just my guess, or like what I think. So you don't ever have that, to be honest, in Siege of Orgrimmar or a whole MOP at least.
Yeah.
And about the magma totem, I like never use it in the raids. I have to say, I don't know. I don't think it's ever useful to drop the magma totem unless the tank tanks the full adds in there, like the full duration of the magma totem. But beside that, it's never really worth using unless you can precast it as well, because it does
Interesting.
little damage.
Well, I'm giving Anna a second here. Her camera.
Cut out?
Yeah, your camera cut out. I don't know what happened there. Oh, there we go. Fair
Am I
enough.
back?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And then Tickle, what about you? What do you think about Earthquake? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree. I don't use it very much unless I can precast it. So Galacrest is a really good example. When they're running in, they're still far enough away to where the tank's got to go run and pick them up. I'll drop it down where I know the tank's going to be putting them. The only other place I've really used it, at least this tier, is like you said, Siegecrafter Mines. But I glyph it for the slow because we're relying on that. So I'm not doing it for the damage. I'm doing it for the slow.
The utility. Okay. All right. Because it kind of glyphing it makes it Blizzard, basically, right? A ground
Sure.
Blizzard. Sure. That's
I
what
don't
I'm
know
trying
enough
to.
about Blizzard to really say. So
Yeah, it's just AOE slow with some AOE. Yeah.
Yeah.
So because the knockdown only works on like non-elites, right? Does it even work on like elite trash? No.
I
don't
can't say
think
I've
so.
paid enough attention.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't
same
use
here,
it enough
but
to really know.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think it does.
Fair enough. Well then. Sad day. So you'd like to see Earthquake get like some love in 6.0 then maybe? I guess we'll lead into that. Any thoughts that could make it worthwhile?
If it were a faster cast, maybe. Otherwise, it just takes too long to cast it to be fun. So
I would like if it gets a buff, you know. It's just the same, I guess. I can compare again to Destruction Warlock. I mean, it's just all the spells that Destruction Warlock have that are worth casting. I mean, he has like Rain of Fire on 2 targets. It's worth. Why is like not Earthquake worth on 2 targets or
Yeah.
something like that? You know, it's just you never use it. It's same with Thunderstorm. You never use it. If it would be more like a Dragon Roar, that like okay, 10 targets, you can just slam it and it's a DPS gain, you would do it. But in the end of the day, it's just you chain lightning when it's a lot of ads and all you do your single target rotation.
And as awesome as Chain Lightning is, I mean, it would be nice to have some more spells to cast. I can see.
Yeah, I guess.
Especially it's and that's another one of those iconic spells that at least it's nice to hear that what you guys are thinking is in line with what I've thought. Where I wish that it just did more. It was worth casting more of the time.
Yeah, because it does look cool. They did upgrade it to graphic to look pretty neat, honestly, but just never see it. So, alrighty then. So how about some more baseline Shaman utility, but really how it applies more to Elemental, of course. So recently we got Healing Tide Totem baseline. So I don't know math-wise. I know that we have an Elemental Shaman that does use his, but from your experience, Tickle, how potent is your healing off of that thing? Is it worth it?
it's decent. Yeah, it saved the raid a few times. I wouldn't say it's as strong as AG when you're able to spam something to actually make AG do a lot of healing, but it's still definitely worth using.
Yeah, I think what we do with Healing Tide Totems, I don't know if you guys as well, is you kind of put it with something else. Like if you bubble and Healing Tide Totem, or I mean as enhancement, I usually Healing Rain, Healing Tide, and AG at the same time if I want to go crazy triage. But
Yeah, I mean, we don't rely on it by itself, but we also have 5 shaman right now. So, for example,
Holy crap!
I know.
That sounds like my raid.
It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. We just picked up 2 enhanced shaman. One of them is purge, so we're like super happy right now. But we have our DPS shaman, so the 4 of us using our healing tides all at the same time on like a Paragon's. What is the line thing? I forget what it's called right now.
The
but
fire lines, whatever.
Yeah,
it's
that.
called.
So we'll use all 4 of ours, and nobody dies because of it.
Yeah.
So
No, that's what I think it's good for. I think it really helped Shaman overall because we really didn't have a whole lot. Because I mean, I'll let Leeds go on this real quick about Healing Totem, but we'll go into Ancestral Guidance in just a moment. But what do you think about Healing Totem, Leeds?
I must say I really like it because it's smart heal, you know. It doesn't look that good on the meter, but at the end of the day, it's the heal that comes when the person stands a little too long in the void zone and he survives because of that.
Sure.
But you can't really like plan it on like as Tickle said on a Fury Edge on Paragons of Klaxi, you can't really plan it as a solo CD as you could maybe do with a with the Aura Mastery or something like that.
Yeah.
Because it heals way too little in general, but it's a lifesaver in the end, and I like it.
Yep, fair enough. And then I wanted to leave that in because we talked a little bit about Ancestral Guidance. Now that is, for those who don't know about it, Shaman, it's a 3-minute cooldown. That's
2 minutes?
2 minutes? 2 minutes.
Yep.
Oh, really? That your damage will equal healing. It will 40% of your damage will rip off as healing, and then it'll also duplicate actual healing you've done. That's why I like Healing Rain and then AG for enhancement. But for all I know, AG for Elemental's always been really weak unless you could AoE. Is that true? If you're just single targeting, it really doesn't do a whole lot because it's like one spell, a proc. So, I mean, Leeds, what do you guys think of AG? Do you have to couple it with other stuff to make it really worth it?
I like it a lot because it heals off damage, and my damage, as we all know, is pretty huge.
Of course.
For me, it's a good cooldown, you know? I don't know how it's for Tickle, but for me, it heals a lot. Doing a lot of CMs, challenge modes, I have to say it's really OP, especially in challenge modes when you like Chain Lightning. Everybody in the group is safe for the 10 seconds.
Sure.
And also in the raids, I do like it, actually. I do like it. It's really fast, smart heal, and pairing it with cooldowns, it really does heal a lot. Like 3 million easily, and it's a lot. Yeah. Well, I have to say I do like it a lot.
Okay. Do you usually just pair it with something though, or just kind of let it go as its own standalone cooldown? Because I don't know if as Elemental if you guys ever drop Healing Rain. So
no, I'm never dropping Healing Rain.
No.
Well, I don't pair it myself with the Healing Tide usually, but
Sure.
in the raids, for example, we can say, for example, on Garrosh, if we have this Whirling Corruption, we have like on third Whirling Corruption, you drop like AG plus Aura Mastery plus Trank or something like that.
yeah.
And so in that sense, it's paired, but I don't pair it myself. Like I don't use everything at once.
Of course.
Except shit goes down, but yeah.
Fair
There
enough.
was that one trinket briefly where you guys would have had to drop a Healing Rain. I guess it was kind of a broken trinket interaction. Am I remembering this wrong? Before the launch of Tier 16, you guys there was a healing trinket that was really good for you guys, but it involved dropping like a perma Healing Rain.
Oh, Prismatic Prison.
Yeah, but that didn't end up going live, right?
Right. They took that. They took that out for DBS specs. It only works for healing specs. So I mean, you still get the stat increase, but you don't get the proc. I think so.
Oh. So no Healing Rain for you.
No. No.
What do you think of AG then, Tickle? Because we heard Leeds, but is it a big
Yeah, I
cooldown
like-
for you as well?
Yeah,
It is,
it's
it
your
is, I
damage.
like it.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, it's not going to do as much if all I can do is like run around and cast Lightning Bolt or something because I'm not getting enough damage out. But during Ascendance, if I can line it up with that, if that's when we need it, it's great. If I'm spamming Chain Lightning, it's great. I mean, and otherwise, it's still fine. It still does a decent amount of healing, but obviously, it's going to do more if you're lining it up with big damage. But that's not always when you need it. So it's still decent though.
Okay.
I see. Yeah, I know because I've only played my Ellie in challenge modes, so my elemental experience is very limited to the lower group sizes. But I know it feels like a really strong cooldown when you've only got 5 people, and especially when you're spamming Chain Lightning all of the time at the time when some of the highest damage is going out. But I always thought to myself that I wanted to know how it felt in raids because I didn't raid on my Ellie, so it's interesting to hear how y'all's experience of it is different in a 25-man raiding environment. I think the point about how you can't always cast it right when it's needed is the one that is pretty memorable to me. So.
Yep, that's true. I know we have some people in a guild and a guild leader that really hates on Shaman a lot, and a friend of mine always comes down to like, Shaman have no utility. We don't have, there's no smoke bomb, there's no rallying cry, no demo banner, but like we bring so much triage healing that for progression, I always thought it was really powerful. Because it was a lot of it just happened, and you could just use it without anyone. There's no channeling. You can move and do it for the most part. So I always thought it was really strong. Now, the other healing cooldowns we have, or talents we have rather,
it's a smart heal, and I mean I guess that's going to change.
Yep, that's true. But I know I've used conductivity at least on Thok when we were progressing on him as enhancement. Have you guys ever dabbled in conductivity or rushing streams?
I myself never used it. We were thinking about it back then on Raden, but conductivity was different back then. I don't even remember how it was, but it was different. It was shit. We tried it out, and it was worse than the AG. And as it is right now, if it was now in Raden progression, I would put it with a permanent healing rain. But back then it was not useful, and I never ever used anything else than AG.
Yeah. Okay. Tickle same
Yeah,
for
back
you?
then, I mean, before it required, like, you put it down and the damage you did was healing to the people within it, which might have been okay, but I still never used it, and now it's just completely useless. I mean, if I actually heal on Thok. If I were DPSing on Thok, I might drop it, because I think it could maybe come in handy there if we didn't also need the AG. But it just doesn't compare, so
Yeah.
I don't really use it.
Yeah, that's a sad state. I mean, we had on the Prop Alley episode that we were talking about like last week that we were saying that there's certain tiers of just not that good for protection. I think that really goes a long way with different ones for every class, especially the hybrid classes. Like conductivity and rushing streams are really... Rushing streams, I guess, is pretty good for resto, but not for enhancement or elemental. Nope. And then conductivity is just so situational now that it doesn't really have a lot of punch. So... But, more utility. We have, Hex and Bite Elemental. We can sheep on a long cooldown, and we can banish elementals. But then, for you guys, as being a ranged caster, do you find yourself taking Totemic Projection a lot for, like, Capacitor, and other totems like that? How does it work differently for ranged? How do you guys manage your cooldowns usually differently than melee Tickle?
I mean, I definitely take projection. Comes in handy on most fights. I think there's only been a few fights that I've used like call on, like Shexier was really handy. But otherwise, projection, being able to throw my totems around is just really helpful. Especially if we're really spread out fight and Stormlash isn't going to reach everybody, like on Paragons when they're on the complete opposite side of the room. Being able to throw Stormlash into the center of the room so that everybody actually benefits from it is definitely good.
Yep.
Whereas if you were enhanced, I mean, you're already in the middle of the room on the boss. So.
Yep, I was just comparing it to myself, because I'm actually wondering about that. Not to pick fun, but I usually call the Stormlashes in my guild. We usually have two to four shamans most of the time, so I usually call them in order. And I can see it when I get the buff, and I'll call the elementals, and I see it go down in Hermes. I don't get the buff, though, and I'm like, damn it.
They're not projecting.
Yeah, they're not projecting.
I'm so proud of Tickle right now that you mentioned projecting the Stormlash totem. I even see in the method rates, the guys putting it on the edge. You don't get the buff. Really good.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
No, that's a really good thing. I rarely ever see it. They have to be close enough, or I just don't get it. Like on Juggernaut, Paragons. Yep. Don't see it. Call it. Never see it.
And I imagine that you have to reposition Capacitor Totem too sometimes.
Sometimes.
If you're using it.
Sometimes.
Yep. I think for you guys though, I know you guys take projection for like the Jade Serpent Temple in Hero Garrosh, because you're not gonna like run all the way into melee range to drop it. Like I'm already there, so I know our elementals had to like take it and throw it when they run around the corner. Yeah. So. Fair enough. Not a whole lot of uses for Grounding Totem this tier. I know Windwalk had very small uses. Tremor Totem really only came into play on Garrosh Heroic.
Well, with a good huge impact though. Like on Heroic Progression Garrosh, if you didn't have 2 Shamans equaling 4 Tremors, it was a pain, I guess. It was wiping you so often.
Yeah, yep.
So, and also for the method Siegecrafter tactic, it was really good to have the Rooting Totem with protection as we gathered up the ads to some point. So we always had 1 Hunter Trap on the first one, then the Shaman Totem, and then a Ring of Frost from the Mage.
Oh, okay.
So on that boss, it was really useful as well. But I guess only Method playing it like this, so...
No, yeah, if anyone in the chat room right now has not watched Method's kill of Heroic Siegecrafter Black Fuse, they tank on the opposite side of the room from when the bombs and stuff come off, and then they wrangle them like cattle, and it is the most wild thing I've ever seen, because like I don't think anyone does that anymore. Like no one really did. Every other kill video that came out, they're right there on the platform. So you guys do some weird stuff. Like that's what Trekkie said last week, that they just do method strats. So
Well, I think that shows you how like a shaman will bring a lot of tools where those tools are pretty meaningless if your raid strat doesn't actually use them. But if your raid strat calls for them, then they can be some of the most critical tools in the raid. I was wondering actually if you guys, you mentioned kind of Grounding Totem in passing day, but whether you guys had actually found any uses for Grounding Totem. I know we like to really look for places that Grounding Totem actually works.
Yep.
I don't actually remember how many times it has though. I know on Leishan we wanted it to work.
We actually did use it on Dark Shaman progression, glyphed as a way to reflect was it Frostbolt or whatever, back to the Elemental Shaman boss. for the tank to save the
really?
tank. So yeah, so we'd be in the same group obviously as the tank because obviously it only works on your party. So we'd have the two of us Ellies in there with the tank and try to catch as many of them as we could. And it not only does more damage for you personally, but it also saves the tank a few times. So
Does the frostbolt count as your damage?
the reflection does, yes.
No way. I never knew that. I was
Nice.
never on that boss.
But it's only if you have it glyphed. If you don't have
Yeah,
it
yeah.
glyphed, it's not reflecting, it's just soaking it.
Yeah, it makes
Very
it
nice.
it makes it a spell reflect. Yeah. Interesting. That's actually one fight this tier that I don't even know what the other people are doing because I'm always up on the hill by the melee
Yeah,
guy.
stuck on the hill.
Yeah, I don't even know what they're doing back there. But that's interesting.
We don't use it on farm though.
Yeah,
I know
We
we
don't care.
really, really wanted grounding totem to work on Lei Shen. I think it was the lightning that we
Yeah, the
wanted
chain
grounding
lightning.
totem that we wanted grounding totem to catch, and I don't think that we
It
ever
makes it
determined
worse.
whether it worked or not. Oh, it, does.
It makes it worse. It counts as a target. So if it doesn't hit
Yeah.
it first, it'll jump to someone, to it, and then to someone else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we gave up on it.
Was
Bleeds,
it-
have you ever used grounding totem in a useful manner? In this?
Well, always on the beta server, me and Sonia like speaking all the time only about grounding totem, like dropping it, swapping groups, trying it. But at the end
Checking,
of the
yeah.
day, it never had any use, to be honest. More or less,
Oh.
you always try it. You're always unsure if it actually works. Like same on was it Shakespeare, like with some poison? I don't know. I remember us dropping it, but I don't even know yet if it had a use.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that would be too OP in my opinion on a lot of stuff if it actually worked.
I see. Okay.
If you like had to bring a certain amount of shamans to get rid of a spell.
Yeah. Fair enough. Like you hope for it. I actually have an add-on called like Shaman Helper. The only thing I have turned on in that whole add-on though is the grounding totem spam, and it links all shaman in your raid. So I always like wait to see like blah 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 absorbed by Schmiz grounding totem, and it never, barely ever happens. Yeah. Yeah. It's super sad. It's such a powerful.
I was just
spell.
curious because I know we just wanted it to work so badly, and
Yeah.
and I guess it would be OP if you could bring X Shaman and just take out some ability. But at the same time, isn't that what raids do with paladins all the time in BOP? I mean, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
It does happen. There are abilities that do remove offensive abilities from the boss because you can just deal with them. And I don't really see a reason why say Grounding Totem is less useful than Blessing of Protection is, or I guess Hand of Protection as it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. We'll see we touched on a little bit in the notes and stuff before here, but the last one here before we take a little bit of a break would be that what are you guys' thoughts towards Warlords of Draenor? What do you guys think if you could remove something, fix something, or add something? What would you do for 6.0? Like, what are the big points for you for Elemental Shamans? I'll go with Leeds first.
Okay, what Tickle already like mentioned earlier short was like removing cooldowns of shock, or just in general swapping the percentage of what does damage for the Elemental Shaman, because right now Flame Shock, for example, does like no damage. Therefore, okay, you can spread it a bit and it's also worth it, but it's not really doing a whole lot. So if you have 3 targets and they're not standing next to each other, you're falling way more behind to the other classes because they all benefit a lot more from having this amount of targets up. I think that would be something useful, like swapping the stuff around, but in general, just better scaling and maybe some new spell IDs. It's really hard to tell though what they could bring because they don't want to have all the classes too similar. So if you say like, okay, well,
Sure.
a Destruction Warlock can cleave on multiple targets, they have Fire and Brimstone, they have this and that, and you can't bring anything like that to the Elemental Shaman because then it would be just Warlock 2.0.
Yeah.
But they really have to be, I think, creative and create new spells about the Elemental Shaman or change up spells heavily as they are right now to make it interesting and competitive in the near future. Because as it is right now, it's just always been the same and it's falling behind. It's not creative enough.
Yeah, fair enough. That's what I brought up in chat. Why do shocks share all the cooldowns? Like, if you do one, it does everything.
Well, it is cool to play on single target, you know? Like, it kind of also... It's cooler to play with it on single target because you have to decide, okay, are you like using your fulmination now on this target, or are you delaying it short to put up a hasted flame shock, or are you like flame shocking this second target and all that? So removing a flame shock cooldown wouldn't only have benefits in playstyle, in terms of the playstyle, but they definitely have to bring something up to make Shaman more viable on situations that occur in boss fights. I don't know. Gets benefits from multi-targets, whatever.
Yeah. Talked about that earlier. So What about you, Tickle? Same topic.
I definitely agree with all of that. I'm also as really concerned about scaling. I mean, as Anna said earlier, percentages don't change just because the number changes. So, I mean, right
Yep.
now we're already hitting 100% mastery if you're gearing for it, and that's kind of scary. If that's not going to change, like we're not going to be able to get any more mastery without it being useless except for Unchained Lightning. So, I'm concerned about scaling and what they're going to need to do to fix that. It might involve either adding more spells or redesigning spells or something, because it's going to be a problem otherwise. So they're going to have to make crit a little bit more valuable if something doesn't change. So.
Okay. So neither of you said you wanted to remove anything from Elemental Shaman. Is there anything you just don't ever need? Like you just dump it? Because I know they talked about button bloat a little while ago. They were polling the community about that. So what kind of button bloat do you guys feel could be just knocked off the Elemental kit? We'll go back to you, Tickle. Do you have anything that comes to mind?
I use most everything at some point or another. I mean, like Earthquake would be nice if it were more valuable so that I could actually use it more often. If they're not going to make it better, you can get rid of it because I really don't care.
Okay, yeah.
Like it's had its uses, but for the most part, it's just, I don't know, it's just there. So, I mean, make the ones that we don't use as often either more fun, more valuable, or get rid of them.
Yeah.
So.
I'm gonna.
Farsight. Yeah, somebody said Farsight. But I don't know if we use that.
Hey, no, I'm gonna bring it back here real quick before Leeds answers. Sentry Totem, Blizzard. Come on now.
Sentry.
That is
You
special.
want it back?
Special play. Yes, that was so cool.
If
What?
they made a Sentry Totem plushie, would you buy it, Bae?
Oh, well, it's just the same color as like the air totem, but yeah, why not? So make me a plushy panda sentry totem. It's fine. It had an 8 interaction with certain encounters. I mean, mostly it was just for like checking different nodes at like Warsong Gulch. But like once it was gone, you were like, it's like the swirly ball being removed from rogues, right? You lost your swirly ball, and it was riots in the streets. So I don't know. I would.
Funny, I don't remember that happening.
What? I guess don't even. Dalton didn't freak out when he lost his swirly ball? Come on.
He did not. No, this is my skeptical face right here.
Lying to me. I don't believe. Rest in peace, Sentry Totem. But okay, Leeds, what do you want? If you could remove anything for Warlords.
Well, I wouldn't remove anything of the already little spells we have, but as Tickle said, I would make them more malleable. I would make them worth using. I mean, for all the other classes, nearly the spells, even though they're not like used on single target, they have their use in other parts of the encounters, or like with ads, with multi-targets, with short AOE, with whatever, and you just don't have that for the Elemental Shaman. It's a lot of spells that it could be cool, and they could make something out of it, but they are just not doing it. They're just useless. As I said, with Earthquake, Thunderstorm, and all that, they either do this or they bring new spells. Otherwise, yeah, it's just always going to be behind because of limited tools.
Okay, fair enough. Chat brings up to make Lava Burst scale with crit. I'm assuming that more crit you have, the higher crit modifier is on it, but then that leads back into the Q&A we had, where that would kind of make it a little powerful PvP, a little bit.
Well, also that would be a Chaos Ball 2.0, and I don't know, that would be boring as well, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Chaos Ball 2.0,
they have to do something like that, and this is also a problem, I think, with Elemental Shaman, that they're too bursty in PvP. Like, they already swapped the Echo of the Elements, that it's different on hostile players or whatever. I don't know the word. I had to Google that meaning first when I read the changes.
Did you?
But, but a lot of that problems are because of PvP, in my opinion, with Elemental Shaman as well. Because, the burst, like the procs, you know, when the procs come, two of them, the Elemental Shaman opponent is dead. But in PvE, it just does not do any damage.
Yep.
I think they should, in general, in World of Warcraft, if they want to keep up with having a good balance in PvP and PvE, make more spells that are PvE or PvP, like different, like they have for Warrior.
This is going to bring up the whole, like, I've beat this dead horse and made leather shoes out of it and then burned the shoes, but, like, making a second rule set has always been this, like, big community contention to make 2 different rule sets for every spell in World of Warcraft. And, like, wait, where is it? Drink. Oh.
Well, the fact...
They sort of did that in Star Wars: The Republic, where things react differently against players versus NPCs. But they've openly said that they're not going to do that in WoW. Some, like, CC stuff does have that iterations already, but making the whole game blanketed 2 different rule sets, they said no. So
Well, this is too complicated then for newcomers as well, and it makes it
yeah, it's true.
not straight enough, and they want to make the games more straight. I know that, but
Yeah.
this is always going to be a problem, and they kind of have to decide if they balance it around PvE or PvP. And
Yeah, it's a tough point to them. I know people always rage that the game was so much better before PvP, but like that was so long ago. Like, how do you even know? Like, what? Vanilla wasn't that good. You
It's
remember
a lot
it.
easier to say it now than to actually have been back there playing.
It's true. It's
But
true.
the fact that they've said that they don't want to do that, I mean, regardless of whether you think they should or not, they have very clearly said that they don't want to make different rule sets for PvE and PvP. So
Yeah.
the fact that they did that for Echo of the Elements is really telling. That they've just had so much trouble balancing that mastery,
yep.
and that's something that they had to do. So it really makes you understand how difficult it is to balance Elemental Shaman between PvE and PvP.
Yeah. Yep. Anything on that, Tickle, before I go to a little break here, or are we good?
We're good. I agree
Okay.
with all of that. So
Agree with all of that? Just blanket. Fair enough.
Underline it all.
Underline
Yeah.
it all. Perfect. All right. Let's move on here real quick. I'm going to... Whoop. That one. Perfect. All right. I'm going to take a quick minute here real quick with you guys and tell you about some awesome communities that you might not have known about, or ones that we like to promote and that work together with us to help the show grow. The first one, of course, as a broken record as it sounds, but it's a great little place, manaflask.com. They actually just posted, where is it? I'm going to read this after. Give it over here. Where is it? Yeah. So, Suni of Method has a healing little blog section over here that you can read all about. It's more like almost like an interview with himself, that he breaks down all this different healing and just like theory and positioning and really good stuff. And it's a lot longer. Wow. I'll read this in 2 parts. So there's a lot of awesome community-based interviews. They interviewed, I believe, Vodka on here when they were coming back to Raid. There's us. They've got German and English-based streams. They got VODs down here. They have their own show as well. They do cover all the WoW news and stuff, but they also have like special things like Buzzkill's Lair. They're talking about epic bosses and what makes them awesome. So you guys can go check out manaflask.com if you need a little bit more WoW, but not on the news side. And then, so we're talking about shamans in the first place. If you want to go talk about more shamans, you want to go to Totem Spot, which now, bring back Skype just for a minute here. Tickle, you are now the manager of Totem Spot, correct?
correct.
Correct. And what does that mean you do now for the whole community? What have you been tackling lately with everything on the forum?
So it actually started, I was supposed to just be like the forum administrator, site manager, but 5.4 was getting closer and nobody wanted to write the guide. So I kind of got stuck with it because you can't have a website without a guide.
Sure.
So I didn't volunteer to do the guide. I got stuck with it. That's why it's there. That's why I did it. But it was just supposed to be a web management thing because I'm a webmaster in real life. And I was like, oh, I can totally do this. I can run this website. And it just kind of turned into what it is. So
Your guide, though, how long did it take you to do this thing? Because I'm still scrolling on it. It's a little bit...
yeah, it's pretty beefy. Most of it was actually written by Gestwiki and Bingenstein. I did the 5.4 updates with a few other like just some minor content changes. But the vast majority of the content was theirs. It should still be in the credits there.
Yep.
The 5.4 changes, I did those. A lot of the theory crafting work, I tried to do at the beginning. Some of it I've modified because some things came to light later on that I was like, oh, this is actually wrong. I need to be changing this. So I've tried to kind of update it as things have changed or as as I've been corrected about a couple things. So.
Yep. I mean, I've been on Totem Spot now for forever, like years and years and years and years. So even outside of just Elemental itself, you guys have great enhancement and restoration sides, because a lot of the other theory crafting forums that were more generalized have sort of all moved into like their own little niches now, and Totem Spot is the place to go for shamans. So appreciate what you've been doing with and cleaning up the forums and making it really nice. It's awesome. So in addition to Totem Spot, if you do play, this is kind of like, I have to throw in a wild card here sometimes like that, but if you are a DK out there, DKs, tanks, DPS, you want to go over to sonofalich.com. Their main purpose of this little website, they do post news and stuff now and then. This is sort of a little once in a blue moon, I think. But their big thing is that they have an IRC with Ocarus, which is the chat room for Deathknights that they live there. talk about everything. You can bounce off people from, all over the world and talk right here. Live chat goes right into their IRC. If you are a DK or you have other DKs that need to help, or they've never played Frost before, or never played Holy before, or want a tank on their DK, go over there, go to sonofalich.com and check out their IRC, make an account, and just start talking away. Plug your armory and get some help with everything DK. And then, of course, some announcements. So we do have, if you have not seen, we have lots of episodes. We have so many episodes on our YouTube page. The link is down below. The after shows and the main show themselves, if you want to find a class we probably have done already, or narrow down the search to which ones we have not done yet that are coming up on the future, you can go check out all of our VODs. They usually go up next day. You can also find us on iTunes, and we also post our podcasts and the videos just on our website as well. Again, links are down below, and we thank you very much, everybody. And additionally, we had a huge December donation drive there was t-shirts and wristbands and amazing donations you guys came in with. It's a lot of fun. We're going to be putting in all that stuff used to here in February or so. But those of you that put in for t-shirts will be getting emailed this week to confirm your name. And those of you that are getting wristbands, they'll be mailed out this week as well. We hope to have that all taken care of by the end of the month, so thank you for your patience. And if you didn't donate and you would like a t-shirt or wristbands, there'll be more information coming out of that soon. We're kind of going to do them in blocks because a lot of stuff to take care of, a lot of paperwork and spreadsheets and tracking everybody and making sure everyone's got their order set. So hold tight for that, and that'll be coming here in the future. But I think we can bounce back over here to the show and get into the, what we call the meat and potatoes, get us some theory and some math, and break down a little more details about Elemental. So I'll open this up with the Q&A that came in. We have another question that came in. This is from Rastafari on US Cho'Gall. It was during heroic progression. At any time, did either of you, Leeds or Tickle, talent or gem for haste over mastery, or mastery over haste, and why? So I'll toss this to Leeds first. Did you stick, or did you change based on encounters?
Well, I guess lots of shamans, if they do know me, they know me for going full mastery for a long time, I guess. I guess also when nearly no one was doing it, and I was in this kind of forms, getting criticized for it, or questioned at least. So I'm always going full mastery. I think it's way better, and therefore I don't change it. It's way better in any situation, in my opinion, so I'm not swapping that at all.
Okay.
I'm always keeping the same reforge, whatever, gemming.
On the flip side of that, Tickle, you do not. So what is your thoughts on this?
Okay, so when I was putting together the guide, I was running the Sims, and I did something wrong somewhere. And Haste came out on top in every single situation. Like I said, I updated when I had corrections, and Haste, based on the Sims, Haste still wins on single target, and if you're doing a lot of target switching. Anytime, though, you've got Cleave coming into play, Mastery definitely pulls ahead. And I'm pretty sure I'm gemmed all Mastery right now. Actually, no. No, I'm gemmed all Haste right now. But I've mostly been rocking the Mastery build because it is a lot of fun. It's, all those extra overloads, it's great. But when it comes down to single target, I'm still going Haste for the most part. Like Iron Juggernaut, I'll go back to Haste. For Garrosh progression, because we were so concerned about killing the boss faster, because obviously boss damage is most important, I went Haste. But, they're both equally viable depending on the situation. Obviously, if you're doing tons and tons of cleaving, Mastery is going to pull ahead a bit more because Haste just kind of loses out a little bit there. But the difference is so small on a single target that it really doesn't matter. I just like having lots of Haste.
Yeah. So that comes down to a personal preference, because I know when I was talking about building the show notes and I talked to you and Rusa, that there are really no breakpoints for you guys. Really, with either stat, you can just kind of swing super strong in either direction. There's no get to a certain mastery, then go haste, or get to a certain haste, then go mastery. You just full on either one, right?
Well, this is a common misconception. I can't say that word.
Sure.
So you see a lot of people who say get to 35% haste and then go mastery, which is really not actually founded in anything other than Flame Shock technically has breakpoints at 35%, 45%, but we don't gear for those because it's such a small portion of our damage. So technically, yes, there are breakpoints like that, but we don't gear for them. The other thing is when you have the meta gem, you end up GCD capping yourself at a certain point. But that's really only, especially at the lower levels, you're really only GCD capping your chain lightning until you get closer to 100%. because Lava Burst and Lightning Bolt are still 2-second casts baseline.
Yeah.
So you're not really that worried about the GCD capping unless you're cleaving, because you're not going to hit it for the most part. The other thing is, with more haste, you're still getting more flame shock ticks, and more flame shock ticks means more lava surge procs. Plus, it also still means faster casts on lava bolt or lava burst and lightning bolt. I'm saying the word wrong.
Sure.
It also means faster pet attacks, all that kind of stuff. So it's really difficult to say get to this point and then switch, because they're so interconnected that you can't just do that. You have to sim yourself to really know where you should be switching.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go strictly based on that. I mean, if you like mastery and you want to go full mastery, that's totally fine, because as I said, the difference is so marginal. But if you're really concerned about absolute min-maxing, you're going to be simming yourself, doing reforge plots, and figuring out exactly which point it is that one is winning out over the other for you, because it's so gear dependent.
And do you have this? What do you use to sim? Is it on the Total Spot website page in the guide?
There is a separate thread that says, should I go haste or mastery, a guide. Ike Storm wrote it, and it actually talks about running simulation craft and running your reforge plots and how to do that.
Okay.
And what you should be looking at on the graph there.
All right, perfect. Very nice.
The thing though is, like, all this, like, only more or less counts for pure single target.
Yeah.
You know? And, well, let's go through Siege of Rockhammer. Which fights are pure single target? Well, first
Very
boss
few.
isn't, second isn't, third isn't, fourth isn't, fifth
Yeah.
isn't, sixth is, seventh isn't. Well, you know, like, it's more or less only one or two, you know?
Yeah.
So unless you go full single target, it's no questions asked. Mastery is better, in my opinion. You know, well, it's equal on single target, but due to the fact that you GCD cap with your Meta Gem proc on Giant Lightning, it's just, you know, no benefit in that during that time, and the Meta Gem has 40% uptime around that, or even more for Elemental Shaman. So in an overall perspective, I think it's no questions asked about going full mastery. Especially now with the gear improving all the time, so even though I'm like shitty geared right now here on my Shaman, and I go full mastery, I'm still a 33% haste, which is 11,400.
Yeah.
This is still a lot, you know. And also, I think also what counts in is that I don't like too much about this simming programs, bots, whatever. I don't. Well, okay, I'm not like an expert with it. I do use it here and there, but I question it, you know, myself and apply it to the encounter situation. And I think it values bursting way too little, or like also needing damage at certain points of the fight. Well, it's hard to say in which position it is, but let's say, for example, okay, let's say on second boss, you have troubles killing it, and you need to have this amalgamation or whatever it's called to die fast, yeah, and you ascendance on it. During your ascendance, you have more or less no gain from haste at all, because for me as a troll, I have always my berserking and all that, you know, so you have no gain at all during the burst from haste, and you do have from mastery, and you neither have from crit or anything else, you know. So I think in progressing fights where you want to have high burst, when you time your ascendance with trinket procs good and shit like that, it's really way better to go mastery. Just to the fact that it underrates the bursts you do, and you know the situational damage that is required on a lot of encounters. Also, for example, okay, let's see. This is like wild speculation and just free talk, but let's see, for example, on the Garrosh fight as well. Yeah, if you see it as a flat-out single-target fight, and you have mastery being more beneficial on your cooldowns, it also like loses value just because you have this intermission where you chain lightning and all that, and then when you cooldown it, it's hard to say, but you know, like all the downtime you have makes mastery also more viable, you know, because haste might be constantly a bit more better on pure single target.
Yeah.
But all the downtime you have while doing nothing increases the percentage of the time you're doing CDs, you know, which makes again mastery more viable, if that is correct explained or understandable explained. So in my opinion, I would never go full haste. I don't know.
No.
But yeah, that's just me maybe.
It's just interesting how it works for you guys. And look, we're the same class, Enhancement and Elemental. And last tier, we were all about haste. And this tier, we're all about mastery, because they buff the crap out of our AoE, and we get so much of it now, and it does a single target damage increase, whatever. So it's interesting to see that you guys have this really compelling difference in how it works for you both. I don't know. Is that, you think it's a good thing for the same class to have such a huge dichotomy between their stat swings, or Would you like to be a more definitive answer, or what do you
Well,
think?
I would like to have the stats or the secondary stats more useful. I mean, we are talking here
Okay.
about Haste being not an official because we are fucking full capped on it, you know?
Yeah.
On a lot of on one of our two main situational spells. And this is like a difference when you say for destruction, well, like if you go more crit or more haste, you know, which just haste make it more fluent and like smoother to play, and crit make it more bursty. It's just not the question for elemental. It's I don't know. I don't know. It feels weird for me. I don't like it that much. But I would like to have a class design that makes you benefit way more from the either stats on situational fights. You know, where you say, okay, wow, when you AOE, crit is so good, and when you like single target haste and mastery, you pull ahead and stuff like that. But you just don't have that for elemental.
Yeah. Interesting.
I do think Leeds brought up a good point, though,
Sure.
with Troll Berserking. So, like he said, Haste isn't going to be benefiting him during Ascendance, but he's also got Berserking. You have to consider that there are a lot of classes that don't have that, where Haste is still going to be beneficial during Ascendance. So I'm not saying, like, don't go Haste or don't go Mastery. It's if you're really trying to min-max on every single progression fight, especially, because, I mean, you look at Leeds, how many fights did you actually sit on during progression Leeds? Were you in on everything, or were you sitting?
Yeah. No, I was not sitting.
Okay, so there are going to be a lot of people, though, that they're going to be brought in for every fight, and they're going to be expected to be doing competitive single target damage as well. And if they're going full mastery, and I mean, yes, the difference is really small, but if they want to really maximize that on progression for those couple single target fights, I know there are very few of them. If they're not troll, that haste is still going to be beneficial even during Ascendance, even when they need that extra burst. So, I mean, I really do think it is a personal preference thing, and I think that's totally fine. It would be nice if one were very obviously more beneficial. But I'm okay with it being a personal preference thing. Like I said, I like haste. I like having fast casts, but at the same time, I also like mastery. So it's good that you can kind of choose which you would prefer to do and have it not hurt you that much if you're not choosing the strictly optimal one.
Yeah. All right. Well, that makes sense. Well, that leads really well into now, like how that affects your talents. So I'll take the top part, and Anna will take the other one. So I'm going to go with, need to know what you guys feel about, and this, you can apply this both to single target and AoE situations, based on your own, because one of you goes more mastery, one of you goes more haste. So your level 60 talents that we have are Elemental Mastery, which is a cooldown-based haste proc, or buff rather, Ancestral Swiftness, which is a instant cast and a small cooldown, and then you get passive haste, and then you Echo the Elements, which is just the chance to duplicate spells you just cast. So where is it different for you guys, based on what you use? Which talents do you usually go for? Do you usually stick with Echo the Elements all the time? Do you ever go with the other two, and when do you do that? And I'll go with Tickle first.
Echo is hands down the winner, so no, I don't switch it up. I think there are some potential fight mechanics where something like Elemental Mastery might become better, but I haven't seen those in a long time, and Echo is just, it sims way higher in all situations, so there's no reason to go for the other ones, at least unless you have that required burst phase where you would absolutely need Elemental Mastery.
Yeah. There's really no other options. You just you guys don't go AS
Not right
or
now.
EM?
No.
Well, I was going on Tok. I was going with Ancestral Swiftness with the instant cast and a bit more haste, because, well, it just, makes it smoother with to get like one cast off even on max interrupting speed, and just do an instant cast, in this kind of style. So, but beside that boss, I never changed it in the whole expansion.
Really?
I guess in a fight like, God, let's go back in the expansions. What was it called? Magma, like the opposite thing of Omnitron on the other side. In this, I guess where the head pulls down every like 2 minutes, around that, if that with a more damage taken effect, and that kind of boss, I guess Elemental Mastery could be better, but it's really not that strong. As I said, it's like 30% haste, where you already don't want the haste.
You already don't need it, yeah.
Especially not 30% of it, and I really think Echo of the Elements is the untouchable.
Would that be
choice.
Would it be a different choice if Elemental Mastery was a better cooldown? Like, and I'm not saying that if it's simmed. I mean, if it was like a plus damage output cooldown, if they were closer, and if Echo of the Elements was still superior for sustained, but Elemental Mastery was actually a cooldown that meant something to you, do you think you'd use it more often?
Sure. If it actually did anything other than just a mini bloodlust, yeah. I might use it more.
That's all it is. The only times that I... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Also, you have to focus here on the Meta Gem, which has incredible uptime for the Elemental Shaman, gives you 30% haste, so you already have like 40 to 45% of extra Bloodlust, which is like way less for other classes. And
it's a shame because I think the choice between a sustained output procky talent and a cooldown is a really interesting talent choice, or it could be an interesting talent choice, but it hasn't really seemed to work out to be an interesting talent choice for most of the classes that have that option. It's just basically which one is the best. Like Ret Paladins have a similar choice, although it sounds like for us the choice is at least a little bit more interesting because the cooldown doesn't suck as much as it seems to for you guys. But we'll see. We'll see if that talent choice gets a little bit more interesting in the next expansion.
Yep. The only time that I ever, for Enhanced anyway, that ever changes is because if a fight starts out with Heroism or Bloodlust, you go EM and with Primal Elementalist because you just get so much stacked haste and attack speed on your Elemental. It's just crazy. Any fight that doesn't start out with Heroism, it doesn't do anything. The mini extra auto attacks or whatever during a fight just really does not add up to Echo. Doesn't do it. Does not do it. So then...
Well, let's talk about the next talent choice that we've got, since I love talent choices so much. I know that the very last tier of talents, you have Elemental Blast versus Unleash Fury versus Primal Elementalist. And I'm going to start this off by saying that on my alt, spec Elemental Blast because the graphic is really cool looking, and I think it is totally awesome, and that's why I always want to spec that talent. But I know that you guys have had different options, that Primal Elementalist has been a better option at some point, and that Unleashed Fury, I've talked to Ellies who wish it's been better. So what have you spec'd, and how would you like to see that tier change? And we'll go with Tickle first.
So right now on the vast majority of fights that are even remotely single target, I'll use Unleashed Fury. It got buffed in 5.4, so it's performing a lot better than it was, and I wish they had done that earlier because it would have been nice to have that option, but it just wasn't as strong in previous tiers. So it's nice that it's actually an option now, and it's really great when you're on the move, especially, for example, in I forget what they are, the different rooms on Garrosh where you're like avoiding that cone. It's nice to be able to just keep being able to cast your instant casts, whereas Elemental Blast, you kind of have to stutter step to be able to do that, which can be difficult at times. So it's nice to be able to use Unleashed Fury a lot more. I also use Primal Elementalist on fights that have a lot of cleave because it performs the highest on cleave, because he does his own AoE attacks and everything. That, and if you're doing a lot of target switching, or if you're doing anything other than single target, Unleashed kind of loses out because you don't get the benefit on the other targets because it's a debuff on the target. Whereas Elemental Blast is kind of a little bit better if you're target switching because it's a buff on yourself, as opposed to a debuff on the target. Unfortunately, that loses a little bit of value at the higher gear levels because if you're already at 100% mastery, you don't want all that extra mastery unless you're cleaving, I guess, and then it's okay. But it's still not going to be as good as the other options.
So even the damage that Elemental Blast does, because it does hit like a truck, it's a really big, because it's a long cooldown single target ability. But even that doesn't trump the fact that, like, if you get a roll haste proc that you don't need anymore, or the mastery proc that you don't need anymore, it doesn't really do anything for you. It doesn't alleviate that. Like, you get like a bad roll, but the damage on it is still worth it. It's just not as good. Still doesn't make it worthwhile.
I mean, it's not terrible. It's not terrible. Sure. It would be nice if it were something that, like, the buff isn't completely useless at high gear levels, because I mean the crit is okay if you're not in Ascendance because it's not doing you any good. The haste is okay if you're not under your meta proc, and the master is okay if you're not capped. But when you consider that you don't know which one you're gonna get, and it's not as good feeling, I guess, when you have no control over that and all you're relying on there is the damage. Because I mean, Unleashed Fury, you've got your 30% extra to the next fire spell. It's increasing the damage on Lightning Bolt, as well as increasing the damage on Lava Burst throughout its duration. It's just, it feels a lot better.
Now explain this to me, because I haven't actually spec'd Unleashed Fury because I'm a bad Ellie. Is the rotation cooler with Elemental Blast in it or with Unleashed Fury, or is it pretty much the same that it affects how you play?
It's very similar. You want Unleashed before Lava Burst for the most part, but because of the weird cooldowns and like surge procs and things like that, it doesn't always end up in the same place.
I see.
And I, like you said, I love the look of Elemental Blast. I wish it was better right now because it's so pretty. But it's a lot more. I guess it's a lot more fluid with Unleashed because of the surges and everything. You're using it still basically on cooldown as much as possible, but you might delay it for a second if Lava Burst is coming off cooldown because you want to buff that next one.
I see.
So,
yeah, for all that Elemental Mastery looks pretty, I never felt like it was that interesting added to the rotation because it doesn't really change anything.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a spell. I mean, both of them are going to be a GCD in the first place anyway. So, I guess on that same topic, because you use Unleash Fury a bunch now, do you sort of rotate to Unleash Fury Flame Shock, or do you always Unleash Fury on Lava Bursts? Like, you never Flame Shock buff it?
Do you want to let Leeds handle this one, or?
Sure.
No,
yeah.
you can.
Oh.
I can? Okay.
I'm gonna.
Okay, so it's interesting. You can actually buff both if you time it right. So, example on the pole, if you want to proc your meta on the pole, so you're going to, assuming you have Unleashed Fury spec, you're going to be precasting Lightning Bolts and then Unleashed Elements, and that'll proc your meta. And then if you cast, it has to be like a certain distance, but if you cast Lava Burst and then instantly cast Flame Shock, it'll actually buff both of them because they'll both hit with the buff.
But
you have to time it just right though, and the travel distance for Lava Burst has to be enough to where it's not going to hit before the Flame Shock.
To quote Coltrane, what? Like, what the hell? That really?
So, it's possible. It's possible. It's a little bit tricky. It takes some playing around with. It is possible
tricky.
though.
Yeah.
But as far as just buffing Flame Shock, if my Lava Burst is on cooldown and Unleashed is just sitting there, I'll use it on Flame Shock if I have to. Ideally it'd be nice to use it on Lava Burst, but you don't want to be sitting on it because then it just wastes it.
Yep.
All right, now let's hear from Leeds because we haven't heard Leeds' opinion on these.
I'm still here, guys. Don't worry. Well, yeah, I mean, the talent choice for level 90 kind of swapped with the tiers as well. I mean, the start of the expansion was just no questions asked, Elemental Blast, because unless it's a perfect fight duration for Primal Elementalist, it's really not even competitive. I mean, you also have to consider how long the fights are in the progression. If the fight is 6 minutes compared to 8 minutes, obviously Primal Elementalist gets more value compared to the other one because you have a higher uptime on the LA. But yeah, I mean, with the buff on Unleashed Fury and also on Lightning Bolt with start of Siege of Rokoma and also just overall the percentage scaling, as you have to consider Unleashed Fury is more or less the only one that scales with your gear. Okay, Primal Elementalist does to some extent, but not really that much. It's just far superior nowadays. And even though it's not really good on a lot of fights, for example, Dark Shaman, if you tank both outside, you have a lot of Chain Lightning, you have, well, not really target swaps, but yeah, it's not really a really good talent, but it's no questions asked the best because the other ones are just complete garbage. Elemental Blast is more or less only the damage it does itself. The buff doesn't matter anymore. And yeah, Primal Elementalist is really not good. It has to be a lot of AoE and a good fight duration for it to be worth it. It's like a 6 minute fight with like 50% of your damage Chain Lightning. You can use it, but anything else, it's really shit.
I think that's what Rusa said when I was putting together these notes when I was helping. He said, make sure they say that Primal Elementalist is garbage. it's just really not good for you guys. And it's good for enhancement if, again, you start with Heroism and you get Elemental Mastery. Then he's like swinging like a truck. Otherwise than that, it's always Unleash Fury, Echo of the Elements, man. Passive, extra bonus, flat damage is always just, it sims better toward the end of a tier. It's how it is right now. So,
I would like if they, for example, they want to make talents viable, and therefore they have to adjust some talents in the expansion. If they would just give a damage buff on Elemental Blast, you do it and you get 5% more damage done for this and this seconds, maybe that would be viable. But also that would kind of destroy, I guess, the theme behind the Elemental Blast of 3 different colors, 3 different elements flying out.
Yeah.
So they can't do that as well. But yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot
stuff
of
like that. Yeah.
We'll definitely see. I mean, because I've always thought that spell was weird because what does it count as damage-wise? Is it nature damage, fire damage, or frost damage? Does it pull a Frostfire Bolt and do the stronger one, or that doesn't exist anymore? Like, how does it How does it show up? Do you guys know?
So,
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead. It's interesting. It kind of counts as both. So if you were using it on Thok, for example, which you wouldn't because it'd be silly because it's a hard cast. But if you were using it on Thok and you got interrupted while casting it, you'd be locked out of everything.
What? Really?
Yes, because it locks you out of your fire spells because it counts as fire damage as well, but it also counts as nature damage, so you'd be locked out of Lightning Bolt, which is one of the main reasons you don't use it on that, but also because of the hard cast. But that would, yeah. So it's weird.
That's interesting. Does that happen? I don't know who it. Does Frost Firebolt lock out of both schools if you get interrupted during it too?
I don't know.
Because that's
but I don't know.
Yeah, what the heck? That's crazy. I didn't know that. I've never used Elemental Blast as enhancement. It's always this weird meta of like, do you wait for it to come up for 2 seconds because you have 5 stacks of Maelstrom, or do you Lightning Bolt and then like sort of semi-hard cast Elemental Blast, and does it? It's gross.
Yeah.
I don't use it. Purge does sometimes, I guess, but more power to the man. I can't get around it. So, Chat's saying that Frost Firebolt does not work like that.
Oh, okay.
Weird.
Question: why are they playing Frost on this encounter? Or
well, we're just using it as a
I mean, I guess at some point it doesn't really matter, and you're playing whatever you want to. So.
Yeah. No, I was wondering about the mechanic because it is a split nature. It is a split school spell. So, well, alrighty then. All right, we talked about a little bit earlier about wanting to get your final opinions. You guys keep down Searing Totem, right? But like, what's your issue with the Fire Totems right now? Searing and Magma really don't do much for Elemental.
Well, Leeds says he never uses Magma, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never use Magma Totem. Well, I do use Fire Elemental. And for Searing Totem, I mean, it's just a really effective spell, you know, like damage per execute time, you know, like damage per global or whatever, however you call it. So over the minute, it's worth it, but it's not like, you kind of have to look ahead. Like if you see your Immersor's Trinket on like 7 seconds ICD, and your Fire Totem is on like 10 seconds, you make sure you drop it, or like you re-drop the Searing Totem before your Immersor's Trinket gets ready, because you really don't want to drop it during your procs. But yeah, I don't know. It's not really an exciting spell at all, and you don't really have to swap around. You just have the Searing Totem drop down in range to a boss or any target, and that's it.
Yeah, they had to buff it a while ago to actually increase its range, so you didn't have to like. Then give you projection, of course, but like it has an interaction with enhancement now. It gains us the stacks for Searing Flames, which is what we use Lava Lash on, which is something, but it doesn't give you guys anything. So
just hit stuff.
It just hits stuff. Yeah, I guess so. But you,
Tickle,
to be honest, I like that. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, it was on you. Do you ever use? What's your Fire Totem thoughts, Tickle?
Basically the same. I've used Magma a few times, but it's not worth it. They're both extremely weak, and like he said, Searing, the damage per execute time, is good, because if you drop it and it stays up the whole minute, then it's going to do a decent amount of damage over that whole minute. But otherwise, it's rather weak. I know if you're like facing a target when you're questing or something, and you're only going to be able to take 5 seconds to kill them, like there's no point dropping it in that situation, because it's just not going to do enough damage.
Yeah.
And it's kind of reminiscent of the way totems used to be, in that you kind of drop it and forget about it for the most part. And I wish it were a little bit more fun. I don't know how they could do that though without making us more like enhanced. Like, I suppose they could do something like, make lava surges proc off of that instead of flame shock, but that would just be silly and weird and make us way. I know that would be. I mean, I don't know. That would be weird. So I don't know what they could do to it to make it better, other than just make it hit a little bit harder. But even then, it's like the damage per execute time is still fine. It's just, I don't know. It's boring.
Yeah, they're kind of. It's literally just a button I hit every 54 seconds or so, and that's all I do with it. Because you basically Lava Lash on cooldown, especially now with resets and stuff like that with me. But yeah, I don't know. It's the only totem we have that is still like a DPS oriented sit down and it does stuff for a while totem. Everything else is outside of like Healing Stream is like a cooldown. Even it's a long duration, but it's still a cooldown. So I don't know. I wonder what they're gonna do for our fire totems in the patch, because you can't duplicate them too. They made that talent not duplicate fire, but everything else can be. So I don't know.
Does it have any targeting problems? Because I know classes that have minions have targeting problems, and I've had issues with my Searing Totem not hitting the things that I want it to. So, does it have issues, or do you generally find that it's putting the damage on in the correct place?
It's a little bit.
Oh,
Sorry.
Your turn. Your turn. Take it.
I was gonna say it's a little bit weird. Like I tried to use it on heroic Horadon to help with keeping the dino back. But it does this weird thing where like if you're on a target and you've got flame shock of this one target, it wants to attack that one instead. So you have to like get it out of range of the one you're attacking in order for it to like stay on the dino. And even then, it's kind of weird. It doesn't want to attack it. I know it's a little bit weird to deal with when you're trying to get it to attack a specific target. But otherwise, I mean, like for the most part, it'll stay on whatever you're attacking. So
I see.
Yeah, it prioritizes Storm Strike and Flame Shock targets.
Yeah.
Yep. But if you don't have a target, it'll just sit there and wait. And I've had times where it's like hitting like the ads on Garrosh because I've spread Flame Shocks. And I'm like, no, what are you? I don't care. But it's like it's wasted damage. I'm like, what are you doing? So I recast it to make sure it works. The only other time Fire Totems have derpy moments are on like the conveyor belts for Siegecrafter because the 3 chunks are different layers. So the Fire Elemental will like be on the turret and then it'll run to the edge and run all the way to the edge, run all the way back, and then walk to the next turret. And like the Fire Totem won't always attack the turret you want it to. It'll attack the first one you cast it by. So that's all I can think of that it's kind of like meh.
Fire Ellie used to have some serious problems, right? But then they upgraded his UI at some point.
His AI, like same thing with Zhwen with monks. Yeah.
His AI, sorry, not his UI. But I remember that used to be the joke. My raid leader is an Ellie, and the joke in my raid used to be that his Fire Elemental was retarded and just could never attack the right target.
No, that's totally a thing. It used to happen. Yep. So before we get out of here, I want to give both of you had a couple little hints and secrets and like tips and tricks in there, but I'll give you a little bit of time here for your elemental soapbox. So share your vast knowledge with the community. Do you have any closing statements or awesome little hints that you can give to your elemental shaman brethren and sisters out there? Leeds, you first.
I guess there's not really too many hints about it. I would say that it's really important for any elemental shaman to track the level burst cooldown. Very visual. I know a lot of elemental shamans, like, they don't track it in the middle of their screen. At least I couldn't play with that. I want the icon in the middle of my screen so I can react ASAP. Don't overthink stuff. In most of the cases, it's just better to just straight up chain lightning. Don't think about dropping a magma totem or an earthquake. It's really hard today though, and don't overthink also like a searing totem. And a lot of people I know, this is something I can say maybe, they track the searing totem, but they only track when it's gone. So they don't track it at all except like a mini icon at bottom right, which they don't even see. And when it's gone, it just jumps in the middle of their screen, which is totally shit. Because first of all, you wanna know when it's about running out, as I said earlier, with the proc. You wanna proc it, you wanna drop it before the proc happens and stuff like that. You wanna work around that. So this is maybe a little something that you can track. And also, I think a lot of shamans, which is not really a specific advice or something, I think a lot of shamans are overthinking their fulmination. It really does, most of the cases, shit damage. And yeah, you shouldn't, like, I don't know.
Yeah, isn't it kind of low on your priority list?
Yeah, well, no, it's not. Well, you want to do it except...
Sure.
Except you have Lava Burst ready, or if your Flame Shock runs out. But I think what people should maybe focus on a bit more, what I can say, is getting hasted Flame Shocks out. Really does help. Watch your Meta Gem Brock, like track your stuff really good. And when you see it's like on 2 seconds left of the Meta Gem Brock, and even though your Flame Shock is on maybe 6 seconds, you just refresh it.
Okay.
Maybe that's something, but yeah.
That's
really hard to say.
Definitely. Yeah. How about you, Tickle?
Okay, so I just saw this in chat. Somebody said, "Would you cancel Lightning Bolt for a Lava Burst proc?" No.
Okay.
No, you don't, because that always be casting thing. That's something that I think a lot of shaman. That's where they lose a lot of damage. Is they'll overthink it and they'll stop casting for whatever reason. So don't stop casting. Don't cancel casts. It's just a loss. Also, the haste mastery discussion, like, it's really not that big of a deal. Go with what you prefer. Like, if your raid is saying, hey, you need to do more AoE damage, fine, go full mastery. But otherwise, go with what you prefer, because the difference is so small the majority of the time. Interestingly, I actually played around with this, and people are going to laugh at me for this because it totally goes against all the good advice you ever give an elemental shaman. I tried a crit build the other day.
You did. Chat was talking about that.
I did try a crit build the other day. You would never do it for single target because it's absolutely pointless for single target. But a crit build on a cleave fight, I tried this on protectors, and I stomped our other Ellie. Because if you're just spamming chain lightning and those are critting, and you're still getting a ton of mastery procs, because I still had like 80% mastery, but I had 40% crit. It's your mastery procs are now critting way more often too. So it was amusing. Unfortunately, it takes a whole bunch of cleave for it to actually be worth it. Otherwise, it's a loss because you're losing out on any of your single target damage because your lava burst already crit, so it's pointless for that. But it was fun for that one fight where we were cleaving enough to make it worth it. Otherwise, I don't recommend doing that. Don't do it at all, please.
Okay, so
We can call that the meter maid build.
Yeah, there we go.
It was amusing, though. It was definitely amusing.
That sounds fun. Yeah, you gotta. I mean, that only really happens when you get to farm after progression's done. You can mess with funny stuff.
Yeah.
So, yep, and see what works. But I think we covered everything. The button is pressed. This has been a lot of fun. We'll kick it right over here for Leeds from Method. Thank you very much for being on the show, sir.
Well, thanks for having me, and I guess for the real boys, it's not over yet with the after show party coming right after, or whatever it's called.
Yep.
After show time.
Yep, we do.
So see you guys then, and have a good night if you have to go to bed.
Well, Leeds is over on Twitter at Leedsiboy. You can go follow him. Are all your tweets WoW related, or are you talk about nonsense?
Mostly, it's shit.
Oh.
What it's not. If you are really like a, if you want to have like elemental shaman tweets or something like that, I'm not the right person to follow. So
that's
just.
Well, that's fine then.
Sounds a lot like my Twitter.
Yeah.
I totally understand that.
And then we have Tickle over here, the new manager from Totem Spot and from Pure. You can go follow her at twitch.tv. She does stream at Tickle Totem. Thanks for being on the show, Tickle.
Thanks for having me.
Now, your Twitter is also on your Twitch page, but is your...
It is.
We had talked about this earlier in the show. If you missed it, if you go to Ask Tickle, you can ask her anything WoW related, and she will find an answer for you.
Or make one up.
Or make one up. You don't know if it's
right.
real or not, so just try it out. Go get her
You
on.
can ask her anything, even if she doesn't know the answer.
Exactly.
She'll give you an answer.
Lovely co-host of Final Boss TV, Anna Feel. You can go find her over on the Twitters at Anna Feel.
At Anafeel, yep.
Thank you, Anna. It's always fun.
And I tweet about Rhett just about as much as Leeds tweets about Ellie, so come follow me for fun times, not necessarily for like high-end WoW discussion. But I love the high-end WoW discussion too.
Yep. You should have, if you were following her during her vacation time, it was all drinks and scuba diving and
fish
fancy
and
drinks and
beach
fish and yeah.
Making fun of people who had like, 30-degree weather, so.
Awful. Well, alright, there's me. I'm over here. I'm at twitch.tv BayTLM. That's where you'll find me outside of doing the show and stuff. I do stream usually 4 nights a week. But if you guys have questions for the after show, you can send them either to our email down below, or you can send them to us on Twitter. Just at FinalBossTV again. Link is down below. But we will see you guys again next week. It's 1 p.m. PST, 4 EST, and 10 CET. Next week is going to be Resto Druids. After that, we'll have one more Druid episode, but Resto Druids next week. We have... Where's the... Oh, we gotta
get through all of those specs.
We do, but Jar from Capital Vices will be here, and the Scarab Lord himself from Elitist Jerks, Hamlet. Should be a fun episode. We're gonna talk about Resto Druids next week, and we will see you there for that. But until then, you guys have a great one. Check it out on YouTube, and have a good reset. And if you're staying around for the after show, we'll see you in a bit. Bye, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Bye. Bye.
See ya.